Hello, welcome back to MCFC Connect. Today we are talking about Man City's summer of 2025, just briefly looking into that and players that we should have our eyes on a bit further down the field, if you ask me, specifically the fullback area. So in this video, we're going to have a look at about 5 names, just speak about what we're thinking on those. And, some of them are a bit more out there, some of them are a bit more unlikely than others, but some of them there is some legitimate logic too that we definitely should be applying into our summer transfer window. So, look, fullback is a clear area that Man City need improvement on. Kyle Walker's left in January, and I doubt he's going to be returning to the first team squad in the summer. So, with Kyle Walker gone, a player that's been so pivotal to our success over the years, Vardiol is our left back, but even then, you could argue that we should be playing him at centre back, considering that's what we signed him for. But we'll say left back is Vardiol. We're still going to have a look at left backs anyway, though, and people that can play left back. But today is mainly about the right back area, if I'm being honest. But we're looking at both sides on a whole. Now, then, we're going to start with definitely one of the hottest talents in terms of the right back area at the moment, basically due to his price tag. Now, I'm going to start with a little bit on Jeremy Frimpong. He's going to turn 25 this year, so he's kind of entering those peak years. Now then, this season he's very much been right midfield, but we know he can play right back and he can even play left back, and he has played right back for a good chunk of his career. A bit more right wing back as well. This season he's having a pretty good one with 15 goal contributions in 40 games, so not too shabby if you ask me. Now then, the big thing is for this guy, he's one of the most sought out right backs in the world right now with Leverkusen. Went unbeaten last season with them, but the big thing is his release clause. A 40 million euro release clause for a player this guy's quality is wild. He's still got a long contract as well. If there was no release clause, they probably want like 70 million for this guy. If we're basing it off this, and with the importance he is to their squad, they might even want more. We don't know what the summer's going to be like for Leverkusen. I suspect they are going to get pinched at. I want City to get Wirtz as well. Imagine we got both of these guys. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but just imagine. And look, another good thing about this, we've seen with City this season, especially injuries in our back line. This guy seems to be pretty injury free. Injury here and there, and on a whole, none of them appear to be reoccurring either. It doesn't seem to be a problem in the same area over and over. Now, let's have a look at his current season. Like I said, 15 GNA this season. Now, let's have a look at last season, his best season, I believe, for the club. Considering it was the season they won the league and went invincible in. 24 goal contributions. He played right. He was mainly at the right mid, but again, he did play a little bit of right back, and I suspect he was defensively helping out as well. He's one of those players that just seems to really be able to do most things in terms of this area of the field. Got so many goal contributions. Him and Gramado last season were on fire. If you didn't know, those two were the two fullbacks to have your eye on, especially Gramado, considering he was on a free transfer, but he's not what today's about. Look, for the money you can get in that, it feels kind of silly to sneer at it. We should be sniffing at this, and also be a return for him. The good thing is about this guy, he's got experience within the City squad of sorts, and as you can see, he came from City's youth academy. We sold him very cheap to Celtic, and they got a nice fee for him. So look, it'd be a return. He probably knows Pep to some extent. If he left in 2019, it means he's probably at least maybe had one conversation with him. So he knows Pep, and to some extent, he knows the system or an older version of it. And if he knows an older version of it, he could probably slip into this one quicker than a lot of other players. And I think he can also do that role of playing right back and travelling into midfield. I think he can be a real asset. And if we want overlapping fullbacks, then again, this guy is your guy. You could argue that he'd be almost in terms of how Cancelo was very attacking, you could argue that this guy could be a similar version to that, but hopefully without any of the issues, or at least less of them. Now then, my next name is a Premier League name. He's 25 years of age, turning 26 this year. So again, he's kind of entering those peak years of his life. And it's another player that would be on a return journey to City. Pedro Porro at Tottenham. Now then, before you laugh, hear me out. He's only been at the club since 2023, FYI. So by the time, I'm pretty sure he went on loan initially. I think he joined in January of 2023 and then signed permanently. But not the point. Now then, 2028 is contract until, so he's still got 3 years. He's only been at the club for 2 of them. Now then, the big thing is for me with this guy is I'm trying to put my finger on it. Is I think Pedro Porro is a decent talent. Those aren't bad numbers for a Spurs side where they are. They're like 14th, 13th in the league last I knew at Tottenham. He's got 9 GNA, 7 of them in the Prem, 2 of them in Europa League. So, on a whole, he's not having a bad year. And when you compare it to Frimpong, this guy is playing right back than he is more than he is playing right mid. Yeah, he absolutely is. If we have a look at full stats real quick. Yeah, I know one of those goals was actually against us, sadly. 38 games this season he's played at right back with only 1 at right mid. So the right back is definitely his main area. Now then, you might be thinking, hold on, this guy's a key part of Ange Postecoglou's system, and Tottenham are difficult to negotiate with. Why would we make this move? Now then, obviously, I think I think this guy's one of the better players in the Spurs squad at the moment. Look how old he is now. He's turning 26. Okay, he's entering those big years of his life, and in terms of silverware, neither of this has won with Tottenham. Okay, I believe these are both trophies he would have won at Sporting. Yeah. Okay, and fair play to him. He's got a couple bits under his belt. Now then, I know City are at risk of going trophyless like Tottenham this season, but if there's one thing that I can say for us is that we're going for a big rebuild, and if he could be a part of that, I think that'd be rather an attractive move. Coming back and winning trophies with City again, it'd be in a similar way to Frimpong. It'd be like that return. It would have like that feeling to it as well. Now then, another reason why he might want to leave is no Champions League football, not in European football for the guy, unless they win the Europa League. If they win the Europa League, suddenly this is a bit different. He's got a reason to really leave. Despite a poor season in the Prem for Tottenham, they still won a bit of silverware, and they're in the Champions League next season, assuming that they win the Europa League. And so if they win the Europa League, this changes. But if they don't, and they go crashing out, for me, why not have your eye on him? He's going to be turning 27 next year, so he might be thinking, now's the time that I need to make a decision on whether I want to win trophies or not, or whether I keep backing Tottenham. He's getting into those big years of his life. In a similar way to Trent Alexander-Arnold right now. For Liverpool, he's about 26, so he's not that youngster anymore, and he's won it all with Liverpool. Is one thing, but maybe he wants that constant success. Playing with them, the team that always wins the Champions League. Now then, I'm not saying we're that, but we have in the last 10 years we're the most successful club in England in terms of trophies. So there is backing there, is what I'm trying to say. It's something to keep an eye on. So if I was Porro, I would have a big think about it. And just to wrap up Pedro Porro, injury history. Now then, it is longer than Jeremy Frimpong's, but look, it seems like it was at his worst here when he was at Sporting. But since joining Tottenham, his injury record's basically been fine. One 19-day injury, but look, an injury from time to time of relative size is going to happen. It's unavoidable. So since he's been at Tottenham, maybe their medical facilities are a bit better, and maybe they've given him the help they've needed properly. But if City can provide that as well, for me, just makes that move all the more appealing. Now then, going on to a name we've actually been heavily linked with, probably the most likely out of all the names on the squad. Not necessarily a name I want. Now then, he's not long turned 25. His main position is left back, but we know he can do both. That's the beauty of it. He can do both left back and right back. He's been having apparently a pretty good season with his team. Now then, injury history is something that I have my eye on. This season alone, he's on 4 injuries. This is something that I've been critical over City's defence for. We just can't seem to keep fit, and so it's kind of hypocritical if we go and sign someone with just as bad of an injury record. This one's fresh as well. March 16th. He's not long had this. So for me, I would stay clear. But he's having a pretty good season. He is a target for City. I much prefer my other 2 options, but again, thing is with this deal, he's got a long contract. Juventus probably not really wanting to sell. I know Cambiaso's apparently like a childhood fan of Juventus too. Apparently he's proper boyhood. Apparently his boyhood club is Juventus. Didn't come through their academy or anything, but you don't have to be fair, to support a team. But yeah, that's what I hear in terms of that situation. For me, I think we should stay clear. Okay, but bottom line is he is a target, and he's clearly not a bad player. And if you can lock down his injuries, then absolutely let's keep an eye on him. But I don't want to be spending silly money either. Same with the Pedro Porro situation. And the differences between him and Pedro Porro, there could be a decent chance that he's in Europe next season as well. So it's something to keep an eye on. Now then, moving on to the opposite flank, another Premier League player who's turning 22 this year. And I bet you he's going to be looked at by a lot of teams in the summer. Now, I could see Kirkes in a Liverpool kit next season, but that doesn't mean I'm not a big fan of him. I think Kirkes is a very good player for Bournemouth. I've watched him absolutely cook us back in... When did we lose to Bournemouth? Like October, November? No, I think it's November. But he's having a good season. 7 G&A in the Premier League, similar to Porro. He's 22, so he's got plenty of years ahead of him. And right now, he's having a brilliant season with Bournemouth. Since October 2023, his value's only gone up. He's been a key player in Bournemouth's side. And look, I could definitely see this guy headed to Liverpool. He's Liverpool have had some struggles on that left back area. Robertson, I know, has been a bit vulnerable, but I'm not here to speak about Liverpool. I'm here to speak about us. And look, it would be a good alternative for Vardiol, a good player to rotate him with, because Vardiol's played a ridiculous amount of minutes this season for City. To have someone that can rotate with him at the very least, and potentially even take the left back spot off him on a whole, and maybe let Vardiol back in the centre back area. Something that shouldn't be sneered at, in my opinion. I think Kirkes looks a top player, and we should absolutely have both eyes on him, because I think he looks top. Actually, before we move on, one last thing. Injury record, absolutely clean. So he's doing good minutes by the looks of it. To be fair, he clearly had a good season when he went to AZ Alkmaar. Well, a good couple of seasons during 2021. So good couple of seasons with AZ Alkmaar. And he got sold for a lot more. Market value of 300k when he joined them, left with a market value of 15 million. Now then, also the profit that Bournemouth will be making. This guy's probably at least 50 million. I think Bournemouth are probably going to charge more, especially if they get European football, which they probably will. So he's not going to be cheap. And Bournemouth will probably look to make the most out of this situation, because they're going to want a good squad going into Europe. So he's probably going to cost you 50 to 60, sadly. But for me, if he's the right guy, then we should make it happen. And I think Kirkes looks a top talent. Now, going into the oldest player on our list, 27 turning 28 this year, and specifically in October, AC Milan's Theo Hernandez. Theo Hernandez has got 1 year left on his contract come June. So, it is getting to that point now, which means he's probably going to be able to be sold for a cheaper fee. Now, there's no doubt that this guy is a top fullback for his side. He's a solid left back too. But to be honest, with how old he is and his experience, he could probably do jobs on the right back as well. So for me, we should definitely just keep an eye on him. I know he's a bit older, so maybe it's not very long term. Maybe that's quite negative. But maybe we need someone who's ready-made now. It's not all about signing the young lads who will be good in 5 years. We've got to sign some ready-made talent who are ready now. And look, maybe in terms of silverware, he's not doing too bad, to be fair. He's got a Champions League under his belt, but maybe he wants to. I'm not too sure what his role was with Real Madrid in this Champions League campaign. Can't remember, but I wouldn't imagine it would have been too big with Marcelo ahead of him. So for me, if I was him, you come to City, you take that left back spot. You could really be a part of something big if we are even in the Champions League next season. Again, a lot of these signings do depend on where we are next season. We might not be in Champions League, so it's something to keep an eye on. But assuming the best case scenario, look, he can play multiple positions. Best position being left back, but can do the centre back if he needs to, and the left mid. So he's got versatility, not locked down. He's been a top player for AC Milan since joining 6 years ago almost. So look, he's had a fulfilled time at the club. I think he would be looked at and I don't think if he left now, I think people would be a bit more angry if he left now, if he left next year on a free, because I think there is a bit of reason there. Like Trent leaving on a free, for example, he's an £100 million player, you could argue. So, and the fact that he's leaving for nothing, it just feels like he's leaving the club with a bit of nothing. To replace a talent like Trent, it's going to cost you a lot. And like Liverpool have a lot of money next season. Well, you'd think. With winning the Premier League and all that, but it's still a big investment to sign someone of that quality, to be honest. But look, anyway, Teo Hernandez, one final thing to look at is injury record. If we have a quick look at that now, give it a second. Here we go. Now and again, a relatively long one, but they don't seem too bad. If we have a look at the individual seasons, last season he missed 4 days. The previous season 13, previous season 28, 18, 23. And look, if this is his worst season for injuries, 28 days, blink an eye, we've hit the jackpot, because our players tend to miss a couple of months before they can come back just to play a game and get injured again. So, look, not an awful injury record, definitely better than some of our lads. But anyway, look, thank you all for tuning in. Let me know if I'm kind of waffling here. Maybe I've just spouted out some complete rubbish and we're not going to get any of these guys. Solid possibility that we don't get any of these guys. But anyway, in the case that we do, you heard it here first. Thank you for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. You want more like this, looking at potential transfer targets? Let me know. And without further ado, make sure to like, subscribe if you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more, hit the notification bell, because then you'll be notified when there is. See you all in the next one.